Welcome to the Real MacKay, and continuing our occasional series on the career paths of some of the people that work in the newsroom, getting the news on air. We're joined by cameraman Steve Kydd. Steve, you have done some of the major stories in Scotland today in recent years. Yeah. How did you become a cameraman? What was your career path to that?
God, John, it's a long story really, but I left school at 15. No O-levels, not an O-level to my name. Joined a firm called Ferranti's, which was a big employer in Edinburgh. Got some qualifications, did various other jobs, became a qualified electronics engineer, joined the BBC. The BBC in Edinburgh was a small place, and I had to do cameras. So I started doing cameras. I was always a keen photographer since I was a boy, really. First boy in the street to get a camera, you know, that kind of thing. And I started doing cameras. And then a job came up in STV, 1981. And I applied and got the job, and that was me.
So there was no design to it as such?
Well, I suppose...
Latterly, perhaps there was.
Yeah, there was always in the back of my mind I wanted to be a cameraman. I always wanted to work in television. I was always interested in visuals and what have you. And the job came up, and I started as a studio cameraman. Did that for about 7 years. I did outside broadcasts, you know.
And what's the distinction between a studio cameraman and a regular roving cameraman, if you like?
Yeah, well, it's quite a different job, really. I mean, the studio cameraman is working in conjunction with a senior cameraman. There's usually 3 or 4 or 5 cameras in a studio, and those cameras are, by and large, directed, and most of the stuff they do is rehearsed. Whereas the kind of stuff that we do, like Dave's filming here, he's kind of shooting it on the hoof. It's basically unrehearsed, and it's a better job in my opinion. That's why I've done it so long. I've been doing this now for 20 years. Yeah. Now,
tell me some of the shows that you worked on in the studio. Can you remember?
Yeah, I worked an episode of my first show that I worked on was episode 33 of Take the High Road. And in those days, of course, they hadn't quite got the set together. When someone slammed the door, you could see Loch Lomond rippling in the background. So I worked on the 100th, and the 200th, and the 300th, the 500th, and then I got promoted into the job I do now, and I left to Take the High Road behind. But I did things like Now You See It with Johnny Beattie.
Oh yeah.
I worked on the very first Wheel of Fortune. I was Nicky Campbell, I think, was the presenter then, and I was on his camera. Did lots of cup finals and all sports of every kind. So basically, did everything. Yeah, it was.
No, I've had the pleasure of working with you in various news stories. I remember Camp Zeist, for example, the Lockerbie bomber appeal, and various others like that. Yeah. But you have been everywhere. So, what sticks out in your mind?
Well, I mean, going back to the Lockerbie story, the Lockerbie story has kind of reflected my career almost. I was there the morning after the Lockerbie crash. I was there when McGrahy and FEMA were indicted. I was there when they arrived at Camp Zeist. I was there for the trial. I was there with the appeal with you, and I filmed them going to jail. Or McGrahy going to jail. So I kind of covered the whole story.
What do you remember of the day after the bombing? Because anybody who was working at that period, it's very difficult.
It was difficult. In fact, I could only really bring myself to go back just the other year. I was up at Thundergarth, you know, where the nose cone landed, and I got there about 7 in the morning. And when in the field where the plane landed, there were sticks with all the bits and pieces that had been left.
So even now, it still has an effect, clearly. Yeah. Well, what other stories stick in your mind then?
Oh dear. Well, I travelled to Libya to see Colonel Gaddafi. In terms of the Libya, you know,
it was with Jim Matthews, wasn't it?
It was with Jim Matthews.
And now that's interesting because you were kept hanging around for some time.
Well, we arrived in Tripoli on the Monday morning, and we never got to see Gaddafi until Saturday night. And we were taken to see Colonel Gaddafi in 2 black Mercedes car, with a traffic light in a policeman in every traffic light in Tripoli, as we sped through to see the man himself.
All that delay, there was no concern for your safety or anything?
It was slightly worrying when I phoned home and you could hear someone breathing as I listened to your phone call.
You're in Vietnam as well, were you?
I was in Vietnam, yes. You
did a lot of Scottish passports.
The Scottish passport, yeah. I did India twice, Vietnam, Borneo, Japan, South Africa, Kenya, the Masai Mara.
So anything particularly stand out, or do they all sort of begin to merge together?
Oh, well, no, they're all kind of got their own little special memories for me. You know, I mean, and when I went to see Colonel Gaddafi, they asked me if I would set up the camera and the lights, which I did, and then I said I was ready, and they made me sit in Gaddafi's chair and press the record button in case it was a gun. Yeah,
so you're potentially an assassin.
Yes, yeah, indeed.
So, how has the job changed over the years?
Well, I think basically the job's changed, and that the product that we produce now is much better. I think the show is better than it's ever been, and I've worked in Scotland Today for 27 years, basically, and I think that it's a much snappier show. I think we reach out, I think we know our audience, and I think that basically we do a pretty good job, actually.
One thing that always strikes me about you, Steve, is your enthusiasm for the job, and now that hasn't waned over the years.
No, I think I'm still as enthusiastic. I do have my off days, of course. I do have my off days, but I mean, I'm always up for something different, and I still enjoy it. You know, I mean, who else would pay you to stand at the edge of Victoria Falls and film it? The Taj Mahal, the fly round Mount Everest, film a baby being born. You know?
Fascinating career and a fascinating story. We could make a programme on you, Stevie. But anyway, thanks for doing that for the Real MacKay.
You're welcome.
See Stevie's work on Scotland Today tonight at 6 o'clock.